Hi y'all, Richard Ash, Folkcraft Instruments. Today I'm going to show you the latest of our wide body acoustic dulcimer. Let you see what changes we've made, let you hear some changes. Let me walk you through the changes first just so you can compare this to last week's video and get an idea what improvements we've come up with so far. First off, the bridge is freestanding. The strings don't go to the end of the instrument. The string pressure is all pushed right here on a bridge plate on the inside of the top. That gives us more sustain and more power, which is one of the big things we're going for here. The top is Sitka spruce, which is going to be more resonant and more powerful than butternut, which we had on the last version. And with this big body, the Sitka spruce is not at all harsh. So this is a really good choice. I can see why for guitars it is so popular. For the body, we still went with walnut. And if you look at it, we pieced together several pieces, and same thing for the top. For the top, we didn't use our premium stuff here, but we will on real instruments that we're actually making for customers. The bridge is kind of blocky right now, and it's kind of hard to see here. Let me switch you to the other camera. The bridge is very blocky, it's square, and it's not particularly attractive, but it got the job done. And the other big thing, if you look at the fretboard, there we go. From the tip of the fretboard to about here, right after fret 15, I can't even count. Right after fret 11, there's a cutaway in the bottom of the fretboard. So the fretboard is actually not touching the top of the instrument. That gives us more top that is unencumbered, more top to vibrate and make sound without a fretboard holding it down. So that's a big improvement. One of the things that I found when I was playing this thing was that the sweet spot is right here after fret 14, so between 15 and 17 is the sweet spot, which is pretty typical for dulcimers. But what I found is that my pick wants to hit that, and being cut away, it is very resonant, very vibrant, and makes this horrible echo. So I think on the production models, we're going to cut it off after fret 14. Although I play it 15 and a half, 16, 17, I play those notes all the time, and I know a lot of you do too. That's the sweet spot, and the slightest hit on that with a pick makes this horrible, awful sound. We're going to cut it off after 14, and I hate to lose the range, but I also hate to have a horrible, awful sound associated with our instruments, and it's not horrible, awful. And, you know, somebody with a better pick technique could probably pull it off and be totally fine with this, but you know what? I am not that person. So my personal instrument is going to be cut off at 14. All right, so with that said, let me play this a little bit for you and let you see what it sounds like. This one has a 25-inch VSL. We're going to experiment with a 27 and a 28-inch VSL, but to do that we're going to have to make the instrument a little bit longer. And we're going to get these guys into production as a 25-inch to start, because that's what most of you are going to want. And for those of you with bigger hands, Dave and Bing I'm thinking of specifically, that are going to want a longer scale, they're going to have to wait a few weeks longer until we can figure out how we're going to bend the sides on the longer one, and we'll have to make longer tops and longer backs, and it's more complicated than it should be, but it's just what it is. So anyway, 25-inch VSL. This one has the 1.5 and the 6.5, and the same in the upper octave frets. You're going to hear the occasional. Ignore that. That won't be on the next version, because that part of the fretboard won't be there. And I think that's it. Oh, this instrument, of course, has no lacquer, no finishing. The edges are hard and rough. They're not sanded at all. But that's what we get. So I'm going to let you hear this thing here. Let's be real creative here. Shenandoah and Wildwood Flower. I'm going to play this on two different picks. I normally, when I play dulcimer, will play with one of the red Herdem picks. And I like the red Herdem picks for a standard dulcimer with lots of strumming. I really appreciate the sound of these because they don't click that much. I'm experimenting with a really stiff, this is unmarked, I don't know what it is, but it's very thick, doesn't bend much, celluloid pick. And on this bigger instrument, I actually like the sound of the celluloid pick better than the Herdem pick. But I'm going to play you a little bit of both, because I know a lot of you will play the Herdem picks, and it's an awesome sound. In some situations, I think this celluloid pick is the better choice, and that's something you're going to have to experiment with yourself. I'll go ahead and start. I'll go ahead and start out with the red Herdem. I'll let you hear a little bit there. Shenandoah Wildwood Flower. I'll keep it real short here. heard some of this, that sound, several times as I was using the heavier pick. That's entirely my technique. A lot of you will not have that problem. And I will not have that problem with the shorter fretboard. That's all I've got to say. Anyway, this is exciting. Cheyenne and Dad and Casey finished this off yesterday about 4 o'clock. And we sat around and played it till about 4:30. We closed the shop at 4. We sat around and played this thing until about 4:30, and I took it home and played it for about 3 hours last night and couldn't put it down. This is an amazing sound. The amazing sustain. It just goes on and on and on. And it is so much fun, such a joy. And the next version will be more refined and more polished and several more little iterative tweaks. I think I'm about ready to say for a 25-inch scale length, we've got this. And if it's like anything Folkcraft ever makes, over the next 10 years, it'll evolve and become even more refined and more of whatever we're trying to get out of it. But I'm liking this a lot, and this is great fun, and I think you're all going to enjoy this. If you are local, give me a call. We'll set up a time you can come by the shop. You can try this one, and you can try the original version and the latest versions, which will be done in another week or so. I'll be headed to the Dayton Dulcimer Doings a week from tomorrow. That's a festival just north of Dayton, Ohio. I'll have a finished version of this, hopefully with me there. Then the following week, I'll be down in Homosassa, Florida for the Florida Gulf Coast Dulcimer Retreat. And I'll definitely have something more polished and actually lacquer and everything else you can try out there as well. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you all have a great weekend.